I'm from the company Alanata, which is kind of new name. We are a spin-off from another company in Slovakia, and we are a partner of several vendors and several observability vendors. We're quite a large company in the Slovak market. Okay, so let me just introduce what the observability means and how the world is actually changing. You can already feel that the world is changing, the speed of change is accelerating, and every industry changes. Whether you are working in banking and utility, in manufacturing, the complexity of the world changes, and also things like COVID somehow contributed to this change, and everything is impacted. There is a big pressure on delivering the software in the best shape and faster than ever. So there is a very large complexity challenge. So now everything is tries to be delivered in containers. The world is dynamic. Your applications are dynamic. There are no more this 6-month waterfall releases. You are moving to 2-week sprints or maybe continuous delivery. So this pushes significant changes into your pipeline. There is also an increasing the velocity and the volume of the data. The faster you deliver, the applications are more complex. They produce more and more data, and this needs to somehow be operated, and you need to get insight about what is actually going on in the applications. So you need to observe them. The frequency of change I already told about is really accelerating, and there is an expectation that the frequency of change will even increase in the future. And applications are the thing that you are trying to deliver. So the application is the thing that user focus on. They see your company through the applications you are delivering. So the application is the front end the user see. They are no longer this is no longer the status that when a user has an error in your application, they will probably now go to someone else, to your competition, because you fail in delivering the functionality. For example, if the user has a bad experience in some application, they will go somewhere else. Now it's easy. They just download another application. They go to a different shop. If you are, for example, an e-commerce company, if something is not working on your site, they will buy it somewhere else. So this is something you need to address. And last but not least, the resources are limited. So if you are still operating with the same people, you don't have any you can't get more people probably because you are trying to do more work with the same people. So the resources are limited. Nobody will give you twice the money that you already have for a project. So, and how should you actually approach, or how can you approach this changing world? There are actually 3 approaches that you can consider. The first is leaving the status quo. So the status quo means you will just have the same tooling, the same options for observing what is your application in each phase of your application delivery, whether it's a development, staging, production environment. But this is something as you would guess, this will not work, because the old monitoring tools, they are not adapting to this increasing change of velocity, increasing amount of data, new technologies, etc. Then there is something, and we see it as a vendor, and by delivering observability solutions, that everyone tries to do it yourself. And let me just tell you something about that. The DIY approach is something that we see across the enterprises, and these are the main point that you need to address and build such solution. So you need to first to get the data from your applications. This can be quite challenging. You can find yourself in the need of using different tools for just collecting the data. I mean, really different tools, different agents, different technologies. Then you need to pull the data and put it into a big repository. That's something that you can address, and many organizations are already doing that. But there is something that is very important. If you use different tools, there is a lack of context. The data is not somehow connected in between if it's coming from different tools. So if you are trying to integrate two different, for example, monitoring tools and tracing tools, there will be always lack of such interconnection. So you need to organize the data so you can look at the, for example, the same issue from different angles. So if you sometimes you need to go to the logs, sometimes you need to go to traces, sometimes you need to metric, sometimes you need some code analysis during the software delivery, and it's really challenging to go between switching the tools. So you need to also suppress the noise. Suppress the noise means, okay, there are different things going on in your application, whether it's production or it's some testing environment, and you need to focus on the real problems and the real issues and get those answers. So you need some baselines, and this is not something you can do on your own. I mean, you can define, of course, some KPIs criteria, but you cannot actually address the baselining and just find your applications how they are behaving in production. It's really difficult to get what is the right baseline for the application. Then you can, when you have all these things done, then you can build some dashboards and present the data that you collected to business or to IT operations, to developers. Then you need to go back, or maybe scale the system, adapt it to a change, upgrade your toolkit, and etc. So it's really this thing, the DIY approach. It steals your time. It really steals your time because you don't focus on your application you are trying to deliver, and a lot of resources are spent for just maintaining the stack that you are trying to do it yourself. So that's probably not the right approach, and it's really quite easy to assess the amount of man days that you actually spend or just by maintaining such solution. And there is also another approach is about leveraging a platform. So we at Alanata, we are delivering Dynatrace as an observability platform in this region. So we are the master partner, and what Dynatrace can do, and also Lukáš will tell you how they are using Dynatrace in Slovenská Sporiteľňa, how they actually use just some of the functionality to deliver the better software. So Dynatrace, and I will just keep it shortly. So Dynatrace will gather the data for you automatically. What does it mean? You just install some agents across your environment. You can leverage or use your automation tool to deploy it, whether it's in cloud, whether it's in on-prem, whether it's an enterprise or some startup, doesn't matter. It has a repository built in, and just data will flow into the repository automatically. It's already organized. You don't need to somehow define how your applications are connected, which log are from which application, etc. All is covered for you and organized for you automatically. It's really easy, and you need to just You need to just see it yourself. And also the noise is suppressed automatically. What does it mean? It means that Dynatrace is adapting to your workload, to your application. It's creating automatically the baselines, so you know how the application behaves. And if there is a problem, some baselines are really broken, then it will also automatically alert you. It will also use the knowledge about the interconnections in your application stack. So that's really important because you still have the relation. It's one tool, one platform. And you can also build dashboard and present the data and use it by different teams. So you are not building just platform for testing or for developers or for product or operations. You can also use it for business. And this is just a visual comparison. I really like this slide because it shows you the DIY approach on the left side. So you still, of course, can do some tooling like that, but the outcome will not be that good as with a one unified platform. When you have the simplicity, the speed, and the effectiveness of such a solution. This is just short slide of sort of information about what features is this platform able to provide. And many customers, when we approach them at first, they are skeptical. This thing cannot work, and it's true. It looks very, very good on the slides, but that should just show us. And we are quite, then they are amazed how easy it is. You just deploy it in your environment, and you are just seeing the data in like 15 minutes, and you have it on your dashboard. You can see all the information you need. So there are different parts of the platform. You can do it also. You can use any part of it. You have infrastructure monitoring. You have metrics from your host containers, cloud platforms. You have deep insights into application, what is going wrong, for example, or what are the bottlenecks of the performance in your applications. And there is application security. It's really important to, for example, many of you heard about the Log4Shell vulnerability in last December, and because you are in applications, we are often using third-party libraries. You want to know how you are affected actually by some vulnerabilities. Also, Dynatrace is able to provide with that information. You have digital experience. Digital experience means we need to measure the user's perception of your application, whether it's a web application, whether it's mobile. You need to know how the applications behave for the end user, not just how it's on the back end. And this is a very valuable data also for business. They can see then how the users actually use the application. You can optimize it probably by just looking at feature adoption. You just introduce a feature, you can just simply see if users are using it or not, or what users or which users use that feature or not. If it's, for example, a campaign, if they are clicking on the campaign or not. So this is all information in one tool. So you have also business analytics, and you can use also cloud automation to speed up your application delivery. You can orchestrate your delivery pipelines with Dynatrace and using the observability data. And back to about what actually the observability means. Mostly it's about having as much of data from your applications as you can have, and have it in one single point of view, so you can look at the applications from different angles. For example, I compare it to a box, so you can see the box from different angles, and from each angle it shows you something different, whether it's traces, whether it's metrics or logs. you need to have some code level data, networking metrics, and this kind of stuff. So that's about the platform. I just said, you just install it and you will be amazed. So also that was the case with Slovenská. Yes, and of course, as I said, it's whether are you typically on on-prem cloud, hybrid cloud, even multi-cloud, or even mainframe. This tool will have you covered with all the visibility that you need into each step of your application delivery. And probably the most important thing is that you need to have answers from your observability tool, not just showing you logs, metrics, traces, all the data in one view. So there should be just some intelligence built into the tool that will process the data for you and provide you with answers. This is what customers are using. Just for example, on one click, will get you the insight about what is wrong with your application performance. Where is the line of code actually that the line let the user wait for some time, and this kind of stuff. It's really easy to do with such tooling. The tooling needs to provide you that answers. Then it's a good way. It will really help you to deliver your applications. And the best practice about embracing such tool is to provide it as a service internally in your enterprise. So, for example, by giving access to all of the IT, whether it's operation, developers, testing, you just enable them to see the data, so they can collaborate effectively, and also to integrate it with your existing stack. For example, with your tooling, with travel ticket tools, with performance testing tools, and maybe also with collaboration tools. And one approach I see it mostly from the cloud native development is something called intelligent quality gates, what you can build with also with Dynatrace is about defining your criteria, such as some indicators, and let Dynatrace, for example, trigger your load testing and then evaluate those tests. And if the criteria are met, for example, let Dynatrace trigger, for example, the deployment and push the build into production or some upper environments, staging, etc. So it's about automating your work, and you can automate yourself or your job. Actually, then it's the speed of the delivery will be really increased. So in the first step, I recommend definitely providing the monitoring and the observability as a service internally. Then go, for example, with testing reaching for quality gates, so defining some criteria for your application. Then you also automate the operation side. The operation side is something that you also can automate. And for example, you can remediate the issues. So when, for example, Dynatrace can see that there was a change in the application because there was a change in deployment, some new build was activated, or some feature flag in the application was activated, and Dynatrace sees some degradation, whether it's performance, whether it's a failure rate on the application, can remediate that, for example, by undeploying that change, etc. So you can also automate the deployment, and not only the deployment, also automate the operation side of your application. And now something about how Dynatrace is used at Slovenská Sporiteľňa. Let me just finish.
We have only one microphone for online guys, so we need to stay close together. Slovenská Sporiteľňa is one of the biggest banks in Slovak Republic. It's part of the ERSTE group. We have 2 million customers, a lot of branches, and even more ATMs to use. There are 2 main channels directly to clients. For private clients, it's George, and for companies, it's Business 24. Yeah.
Because that the story began at the time that Lukáš was actually out of office at that time, so for a longer time. And what was the motivation? We actually started some proof of concept phase, but the motivation was about company like insights into the application. The application were complex and there was no observability tooling. They had some traditional monitoring tools for infrastructure, some specific tooling for example, for Java applications, and very specific, but no complex view, no insights about what is going on. Also, the dependencies were a challenge because, as you may know, that which in enterprises dependencies are really complex, can be complex in between the applications. Actually, what is documented is often very different from what is actually in the application and how the applications are communicating. Also, the motivation was about eliminating the silos, working on my side. You have an issue, your team has an issue. This is very common in enterprises. And also one of the motivations was to improve the application, to improve the performance. So we started with a proof of concept phase with some business critical systems, and the deployment was very simple. To production environment, we deployed the agents and all the stack like in 15 minutes. So it was really very, very simple and using the automation tool they already have in place. Now, about George. George is the
main channel for the clients. It's internet banking. We had a lot of issues with performance. I'll just use the microphone. We have a lot of issues with performance during time before Dynatrace, and we try to address it as soon as possible. But it's a bank, so everything has its time, and the process is really long. After we installed Dynatrace and started using it, after 1 month we already have some issues now. We had found some few big bugs which caused additional load on the backend. So we fixed them and we improved our performance by 90% of those backends. And one of the pluses of Dynatrace is that it's deployed in production also, not only in test environments. So we can set up our performance testing as production. So we don't do additional load, and we are trying to use the same scenarios as real users in production. One of the other bugs was eliminating unnecessary calls between backends. We relieved like 50% of the load in some components. We are part of the ERSTE group, which is mainly from Austria. There is a central team there. They also use Dynatrace, but we are 2 different countries and basically 2 different companies. But there is a possibility to interconnect these 2 environments. So when the user starts getting data from our side, and then tries to get some data from the central team, we can just follow the path of the requests from our Dynatrace right to ERSTE group Dynatrace. This provided us with the incident drop by 80%. So we were able to fix a lot of stuff before it was deployed in production.
One thing to mention, the issues with George became, I think, early 2020 when the COVID started actually, and the users were checking like the accounts, and there was really some performance bottlenecks. The elimination was successful in 1 month, just simple by looking at the data, optimizing it, and there were also different issues in each environment. So Lukáš was unable to actually to simulate the same issues that were occurring in the production, because the production had some different issues. So it's really important to have such tooling in each environment. So, and really you need to address the bugs as soon as possible. So by addressing the bugs and fixing them as early in the software delivery. There
is one other piece of software. It's called frontend. It's our front office application. So when clients came into our branches, the frontend is the application which is used to serve the customer. It's a really old application. It is 15 years of legacy code, and it's changing progress, of course. There is a user experience index, how long the customer needs to wait for some operations, and we were able to really increase the user experience by fixing a lot of performance issues in the production. There's a digital experience monitoring, which you said before.
Yes, this one is actually very important because the front-end application is undergoing the re-implementation into really a different architecture, so it's really getting rewritten. And Slovenská is measuring the user experience on the modify the functionality on the screens of the old processes and new re-implemented processes, that they are evaluating the performance and user experience. So you can just really compare. If you go with some feature into production, you can really measure and compare the performance, the error rate for the users, and you can just address the performance issue very easy when just completely re-implementing your application piece by piece.
There is also that waterfall level data. There is a lot of times that there is incident from production, from the front-end application, that bug tellers create incident. This is not working for me, and yeah, it's not really helpful for the analyzing of the problem. So with the Dynatrace, we can see exactly what was user doing, what was clicking before, what was clicking after, and whole waterfall data.
And I will just jump shortly because we are running out of time. About the features that people like Lukáš are using in Slovenská. This is just some part of features, mostly focused for testing. This tool is used also by operations and also by developers. So probably for performance testing, one of the most common features is comparing down to some requests, comparing performance, comparing errors, some metrics, and just immediately get the answers. So you are not provided with just an error, but you have also stack traces and such data. You can integrate that with your testing tooling. So, for example, you can just enrich the data about the steps from your testing scenario, so you can easily evaluate your testing scenario down to the details. What was the issue for the error, for the performance bottlenecks? What is happening? So in this example, you can see that there are some test sets names from JMeter. When testing the front-end application, you can analyze almost anything you can imagine. And also what Lukáš already said, that you can really adapt your testing scenarios based on your production load. You can just easily see what is the load of production, not just using or data from, for example, from access log. You can also see, as you can see here from George, there are some application functionality, and it's measured, for example, the duration on also the amount of actions that users are doing in production, and you can just easily then tune the testing scenarios. And one of the best features is collaboration enablement. You can just take a link to your Dynatrace and just send it to some developers using Slack or Teams, or you can put just the link to a trace or to some comparison to the Jira ticket, and the people then can really work with the data. They just can open it. They have access. As I said, one of the best enablement features was to really spread it across the IT and enable the users to access the data, so everybody can access that. And these are the takeaways from our presentation. So leverage the observability tooling, whether it's Dynatrace or it's some competition. If you don't have such tooling, just try to get one. Really, sometimes you have some partially solutions to observability, but a complex solution, one platform is much better and will provide you with the answers, so you are able to focus on your main job and improving your application, better testing them. And the tool should provide you with answers, not just metrics, not just spread through different tools. Collaborate, so send the data across. This really speeds up solving some issues, and try to shift left and automate. So try to use the observability tooling to find your bugs as soon as you can in your software development pipelines. So in development environments, it's much cheaper to fix it than in production or in some staging environments. You can also introduce the quality gates, and this will also enable you with some automated or faster delivery. Okay, so then with such tooling, with such platform, you can really transform your business, and you can be faster and smarter, and it will be really easier for you. And maybe one last slide about. So if you don't know want to know something about Dynatrace, we have also a demo environment outside. So just reach to us, and we can show you how it can help you delivering your better software in your enterprise.